on, guys? Welcome back to another edition of the Evolution of Sports Talk Television here on a happy
Hump Day
edition of the Sports Web. I'm your host, Peter Blake, and I'd always start off this show as you know them, you love them, you got to have them. Three things: bring your passion, bring your excitement, just don't bring any nonsense. On tonight's show, we'll have the legend himself, Mr. Leo Haggerty, former Coach Scout and now media member of Night Sports Productions and Amped Up Sports. After that, we will have Tampa Bay Ray Kennedy on, and then also Jason Powers on at that 9:30 as we talk about your Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Get you ready versus the Carolina Panthers. Can they pick up a win? As the Panthers fired their coach and every Bucs fan ran to social media and said, Panthers by 60. That's not necessarily good, but of course it goes back to last year. Deja vu all over again. Hopefully it's not, because the Panthers did fire their coach and they got rid of two of their best players, including Christian McCaffrey. And they still won in convincing fashion. So make no mistake about it. It's a huge game this Sunday. Oh, yeah, we'll be covering it too. We'll be live on the field for your post-game edition in collaboration with the JP Peterson Show. After the game, give me about 20 or 30 minutes. I got to set this whole shebang up, the camera and not the lights. They got the lights already, but the mics and the mixers and everything like that, sound effects, phone calls. We'll get it for you. Also, I'm on TikTok tonight. See if anybody's watching. We'll get back to that in just a moment. And I'm going to give out my phone number. As always, it's a personal phone number, TikTok, so don't kick me out. 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. We'll also hear from Baker Mayfield. The question is out there: if this Bucs offense continues to struggle, do you make the change to Kyle Trask? If and only if. I put that out there on my Facebook pages. I put that out there on my social media groups. And overwhelmingly, it's not Baker's fault. That's what the Bucs fans are saying. And then, of course, if the Bucs lose to the Carolina Panthers, do you feel like the Glazers should fire Todd Bowles immediately? 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. Because for me, the other question is, if you do fire him, what do you gain out of it? The Glazers usually wait until the end of the season. So a big game on Sunday. We'll see if the Bucs can stay in the chase. Of course, Todd Bowles speaking this week, saying in so many words, and he's right. They're one game away from being in first place of the NFC South. So they have everything to gain and everything to lose at the same time. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get my co-host on tonight. Here we go. Coach Scout and now media member of Night Sports Productions and Amped Up Sports. It's been a long time, but he's been traveling all around the place. He's been doing this. He's been doing that. He's a very busy man, if I can talk. I'm so excited to have him back on again. Leo Haggerty, welcome to the Evolution of Sports Talk Television, my friend. And let's start it out here. First and foremost, we also cover the USF Bulls, as congratulations to them, as they are bowl eligible after disposing of the Charlotte 49ers 48-14, not in a laughing fashion. Hopefully the Bucs can do that on Sunday versus the Carolina Panthers. But give me your thoughts about USF and Coach Alex Golesh. Welcome to the Evolution.
You know what, Peter? Thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure to be on with the hardest working sports media member of the Tampa Bay community. Peter, if you'd have told me 6-6 at the beginning of the year, you know what I'd have said? 3 words: book it, Dano.
I love it.
No way. No way. They're coming from a 1 win, haven't won a conference game in 2 years. And you know what? Coach Golesh has done a superb job just holding everything together. Because, when they lost, it wasn't like usually 1 point. They were getting blasted. And that's hard. You know what, Peter? It's hard to deal with as a coach, but as a player, it's not. because when you get beat by 30 points, you're not overplaying every play in your mind. You get beat by a field goal at the end of the game, you're replaying every play in your mind. And you know what? That can stick with you for the next game.
Absolutely can stick with us. We'll talk about USF. We'll also talk about the wild rumor today, which is not a surprise to me. The Tampa Bay Rays actively shopping Randy Arozarena. I put that out there on social media, and there's not a lot of happy fans. And I didn't think there was going to be a lot of happy fans when that rumor came out. Really quick, touch upon that. What did you think of hearing that rumor today? Randy Arozarena being actively shopped by the Tampa Bay Rays, of course, going into arbitration this year, possibly making $7 million and also doubling next year to $20 million. And of course, having the agent of Scott Boras, so it makes sense. But if you're a Rays fan, you have Randy Land, you have somebody that's engaging the fans, making fans go out there and enjoy a Friday night. And all of a sudden, here come the Tampa Bay Rays again, the party poopers, the organization that will put coal in your stocking for sure. The Grinch that stole Christmas, Sue Sternberg, doing what he always does, trading a fan favorite. Your thoughts?
You know what, Peter? Especially after what they had with Franco, what went on. You don't want to get rid of people that the fans like, and they're productive. I mean, if Randy Arozarena wasn't productive, okay, fine. But you know what? He's the glue that was holding that team together in a clubhouse situation, because Wander Franco, he got a little crazy in there for a while. And, Randy Arozarena, he kept the Hispanic players together. Mm-hmm. And again, there's a lot of Hispanic players on the Tampa Bay Rays. They're good players.
Yeah.
But you know what? You don't. Why are you actively shopping? If you're actively shopping because Scott Boras is his agent, well, you know what? Then sell the team. Get rid of the team, because Scott Boras is going to get the top players in Major League Baseball. You know why? Because he gets some top money.
Well, yeah, and because again, I mean, he set the world on fire the first half. I get it. You got into the home run derby, struck out a lot. His offense went down, offensive numbers. But what he means to this Rays team is a much more than an offensive productive player. You saw what he did in the postseason. He hits 336, has a fantastic one in 2020. The whole Rays team didn't do well last postseason versus the eventual champion Texas Rangers, so not bad. But for me, I feel like he is the face of the Tampa Bay Rays. What do you say?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And again, Peter, we got to understand the Rays' psychology in this. They believe in pitching and defense. That's going to be the top two. Yeah, you can get a hitter, great. But they believe in pitching and defense. That's what's going to get them where they are. And again, you can't knock it. They won 99 games. Somebody's doing something right over there. My big concern with the Rays is, why are so many of their pitchers going down? Yep. What's happening there? Because, you got McClanahan going down. You got people going down for an extended period of time. Tommy John surgery. Somebody's got to look in the organization and say, hey, what are we doing wrong? Is it something we're doing, or is it just baseball bad luck?
Yeah, maybe it's baseball bad luck. Maybe it's also conditioning. You don't know. That was the other rumor out there. Tyler Glasnow could be traded on the trade block too. With that being said, let's talk about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, because I know a lot of Buccaneer fans are disappointed with that loss versus the Colts 27-20. Your general thoughts on it, because look, I thought the team played, at times well, but once again, slow start. And then you have opportunities there by Todd Bowles, not only trying to manage the clock, doing a terrible job with that. Challenges there, still mental mistakes, still problems with scoring in the red zone. And I even said on my monologue on Sunday on the postgame show that I felt like the Bucs actually lost the game with that first drive, because that's their best first drive. They haven't scored a touchdown all year long. They have an opportunity. Baker goes out with an injury. You have Kyle Trask come in, nearly throws an interception, if not for a penalty. Then makes a good throw to Chris Godwin, doesn't get it there. I mean, why not run the ball on the 1 yard line? Why not challenge the play before then? Because it certainly looked like Mike Evans got into the end zone. What is Todd Bowles doing for this team? Is he going to get them to be urgent? Are they going to come out with some urgency? Are they going to do something different? Because we continue to talk about effort on this team. We can talk about the defense and the blown coverages. I mean, just your general thoughts of their loss against the Colts on Sunday.
And you know what, Peter? It was a team loss. I mean, his offense, defense, special teams, all three got beat. And again, when you're playing against the Colts, I know there's a pass-happy league, but you better stop Jonathan Taylor. That's the first thing you need to do. You need to stop him. And they didn't. You know, he was successful. He made things happen. Peter, what people don't realize, I'm going to throw this out to you right now.
Sure.
The team that scores first in the NFL wins almost just a shade under 67% of the time. 2/3 of the time, the team scores first. That's why that first drive is so important. Is, as Coach Golish would say, it's uber important to put points up on that first drive, because once you've done that, you set the blueprint as to what you can do the rest of the game.
I got to read these comments from Baker Mayfield, and they're kind of troubling to me because it kind of goes back to last year and Tom Brady's comments about this very team. And, you know, all the excuses were out there, Byron Leftwich, and, of course, Todd Bowles not necessarily having his coaching staff, but we still see the same mistakes Sunday after Sunday. This is what Baker Mayfield had to say. Until everybody gets pissed off enough to get it fixed, there will be no changes. I know where I'm gonna head at the end of this week. I got to get my job fixed and try to drag as many people along as well. Once again, going back to it, we heard this from Tom Brady last year. Is this a coaching issue where eventually the Bucs, if they don't start putting some wins together, even though they're in the NFC South, they're going to have to fire Todd Bowles?
Peter, we know that 6 to 8 coaches every year get fired.
Yeah.
That's just the way of the world in the NFL. And you know what NFL stands for? Not for long if you lose.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what, if they don't win the NFC South, which is probably going to be 9-8 or 8-9, right in there.
Right.
His job's in jeopardy. No doubt. His job's in jeopardy. Smith's job's in jeopardy in Atlanta. This guy in New Orleans is in jeopardy. We saw what happened to Carolina. I can't believe they jettisoned Frank Reich that fast.
Yeah.
You know, with a rookie quarterback in that. Well, there's no rookie quarterbacks here. You know, you better win, because the NFC South is there for the taking. Just go get it.
All right, I want to go out to TikTok. Thanks a lot, Christopher Cole, for tuning in. As always, we are live on TikTok, of course, other social media platforms. It's a Sports Web. I'm your host, Peter Blick, along with the legend himself, Mr. Leo Haggerty. Let's go back out to these comments. KR says, hey, guys, first, what's up? Christopher Cole, hey, guys, on here. Jim says, what's good? What's good with you? King Lee Phillips Jr., live, 4001 Nimmon Street, Orlando, Florida. So giving me his address, Sunday Football, Tampa Bay. Appreciate you, my friend, for tuning in. Ben Cornett, I'll admit, I'm nervous about the game against Carolina. Usually teams that play a game after they fire their coach, they play well. Bucs better be prepared and not take this team lightly. I mean, complete disarray right now, 1-10. They fire Frank Reich. They've had nothing but problems with Bryce Young. In 5 games this year, they haven't scored more than 16 points. So this is a slam dunk for the Bucs, right, Leo Haggerty?
You would think, Peter. You would think. But I'll tell you what, if you go in, and again, remember, we had Ron Jaworski on. And, Peter, I think it was you that asked him, is this an important game? And what did Ron say? Every game is the most important game because you only got 17. So,
right.
Yeah, this game, they got to win this one.
All right.
If they don't, it's trouble.
I'll tell you what, let's go out to the phone lines here. Let's go out to Alex in Largo. Alex, welcome to the Evolution. You're with yours truly, along with the legend himself, Leo Haggerty. Go.
Guys, it is good to call in. It's been a while. How are you guys doing?
I'm doing good, man. How are you doing?
Doing good. Listen, I wanted to jump on you for a second. It's been a while since I've been on. It's probably been a couple months. It's been a crazy couple months. But I wanted to talk about a couple of thoughts about this Buccaneer team. Would you mind?
Yeah, sure. Go for it, man.
Sweet. So the first thing I want to start off is talking about, of course, Mr. Baker Mayfield. I do want to talk about him for a second, and I would actually like your guys' thoughts on the overall season. I know the season's been rough. But can we all take a minute? Can we all take a minute and at least think about? I think Baker Mayfield has done a pretty damn good job. I mean, if you look at the offensive line and what he's working with, you would have never told me walking into the season that Mike Evans would have dropped the amount of passes the first quarter of the season. All these guys dropping passes. Thank God. I know the offensive line is so bad. Thank God that Baker has the ability to get out of the pocket because, God, what people don't understand is let's take a moment and let's put Tom Brady working with that same offensive line that he's working with right now. Example.
You would struggle. You would absolutely struggle. You're exactly right. Let me go out to the former scout here, Baker Mayfield. Yeah, what do you think about his play? Because a lot of Bucs fans kind of disenchanted. Leo Word out there of his play. What do you say, Leo?
Well, you know what, Peter? People have to understand right away that the quarterback gets way too much of the credit when they win and way too much of the blame when they lose. And again, look at the overall picture. All 5 offensive linemen are in different spots. That is crucial. I preached to you, Peter, a couple things, and one of them is for every new offensive lineman you start, it's going to take you 2 games. Guess where they're at now, Peter? Week 11. It's going to start to gel now because you got people finally figuring out what they're supposed to do and what those other 4 guys are going to do. The toughest position to coach is offensive line. That's why you see these guys who are 60, 70, and 80 years old still coaching because you can't find them. Right. They're hard to find.
You're exactly right. All right, Alex, well, what do you think about Baker Mayfield at this point? And if the offense does struggle because they've had their fair share of struggles, are you in favor of going to Kyle Trask or do you ride it out with Baker?
I am, that's a tough call because I know with this last loss, everybody's saying going to Trask. I'm sorry, Peter. I have to disagree. Baker is not our problem. 2 weeks ago, we lost because the defense can give up 500-plus yards to a no-name quarterback I've never heard in my life.
Yeah.
We're not losing because of the offense. We are. I personally think that if no, that's a lie. That's a lie. I take that back. I take that back. I think there's 2 big issues. No, 3 big issues to this Buccaneer team.
Okay.
I think this Buccaneer team has a lot of talent. There's no doubt in my mind going into the season that if you would have said that Baker Mayfield, I think Baker Mayfield is playing the best football he has played in his entire NFL career with this Buccaneer team, with the Buccaneer team. That's my personal opinion. But it's everybody else. It's the drop passes. It's the defense giving up 500 yards. Carlton Davis getting burnt. Devin White not playing. I mean, these are guys that Mike Evans dropping passes, Chris Godwin dropping passes, Palmer dropping a wide open freaking dot. I mean, all these. I mean, if you take all that away, if you look at the overall team, I just think I've noticed one thing and one thing only. It comes down to 2. It comes down to one man and one man only. Todd Bowles. I think this Buccaneer team has given up on this man. I really think that he has a serious lack of leadership. I think we have a great roster. I think we have a really good Buccaneer team. But if you look on the sideline, this team lacks a lot of discipline. There's no discipline on that sideline, in my personal opinion. But if you look at the overall roster, I think we had great potential. If you would have saw this Buccaneer team, you would have never told me that we would have started the season 3-1. I think we were what, 3-1 to start the season?
Yeah, 3-1 to start the season, and yeah, you've lost the.
You would have never told me that we would have took a complete 360-degree turn out of complete nowhere, and that has to start with your leadership. That has to start with your head coach. This man literally said This man, if I heard him right, I cannot believe this man said this after this last loss. This head coach said, it doesn't matter. We are still in the division race. Who says that after a terrible loss in the way this Buccaneer team is playing?
I get it. I definitely listen. I get it, Alex. They're in the NFC South, man. I appreciate the call. Use that second call if you want to. Appreciate you coming back to the show as always. Open phone line 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. He's correct about that. I mean, I think a lot of fans were, shaking their head, but at the end of the day, he's correct. They are still in the NFC South. It is an awful division. I get that. Tell you what, ask for phone calls, Leo. Get phone calls. Let's go out to Jim. Damn it, Jim. Thanks a lot for calling the Evolution. You're on with yours truly, along with Leo Haggerty. Go.
Hey, I think we need to play out the season. Listen to Todd Bowles because he's the leader. We ain't gonna get rid of Todd Bowles in the middle of the year.
Okay.
We need to figure out at the end of the year if y'all want to keep him or not.
Okay.
But right now, he our head coach, so that's what we got. Ain't no plug and play. Nobody want to play for the Bucs. And nobody want to coach for the Bucs. Anybody trying to coach for the Bucs. So what we gonna do is win these games, get to this playoff. We're gonna try to win this division. If they don't win the division, we can go and do what, chop it up, whatever we're gonna do, what we need to do to move on.
All right. What's your biggest problem with this team right now? Is it coaching? Is it quarterback play? Is it defense? What's your biggest problem with them?
Like I said, I need to figure out what we're doing with the secondary on defense. Seems like they ain't playing, that they hurt. I like our line. Our line's playing hard, but when they, we can't have a line by itself. We need a whole defense. So
well,
secondary ain't playing right.
Right. Well, you're not getting enough pressure, and Yaya Diaby is starting today. Jim, anything else here on the Sports Web?
And I think our offense needs to get this running game going, and our running back is more of a scat back that can go around and catch the ball and outfield stuff instead of running him up the middle every time. He's not no LeGarrette Blount or what's his name? Go right up the middle.
Right.
He ain't no big pounder. So
no,
they can just figure it out.
And you can definitely figure it out, and hopefully they can figure it out on Sunday. Use that second call, Jim. Appreciate the time, and definitely tune in to the post-game show in collaboration with the JP Peterson Show on Sunday live from Raymond James Stadium. All right?
All right, thank you.
All right, there you go. Jim calling the Evolution. So, you talk about coaching. Defensively, I think the biggest disappointment for me is Devin White. I mean, what do you see with this kid? He's regressed, whether he's hurt, whether it's lack of want to. I mean, it doesn't seem like he's very instinctive. And then furthermore, he gets Patrick Mahomes by Gardner Minshew. Make some sense of this, Leo.
Well, you know what, Peter? I'm not going to throw him under the bus for that, because with a quarterback, it's a whole different animal when you go to hit him. Because if you hit him anywhere above the shoulder pad or below the belly button, you're going to get a penalty. So, yeah, he was between a rock and a hard place on that one. And again, it's 2-yard line. Is he probably faster than – he may not be faster, but he's probably more used to running the football than 45 is. So, yeah, that's – Peter, it all starts and stops, excuse me, with the offensive and defensive line.
Yeah.
And you hit the nail on the head. You don't get pressure. Those guys in the back end, they're getting burned. Because, Peter, what's Leo's number one postulate? Well, if a quarterback can throw it where he wants to, when he wants to, and to who he wants to, you're getting beat. That's what's happening.
You're absolutely correct. They haven't gotten enough consistent pass pressure. And I know we're going to get you out of here because I know you're dealing with some throat stuff, so we don't want to hold you that long. But Yaya Diaby is now the starter over JTS. Is this the right move to finish off here on the Sports Web?
Well, somebody's got to go, and again, somebody can make a splash play.
Yeah.
And that's what you're seeing. You got to see guys who's starting to make plays, because, again, I'll tell you what, though, Peter, I'm going to go right here and now and tell you, if they lose to Carolina, Kyle Trask is your quarterback next week. That's just going to happen, because they got to find out what they got there. They know what they got with Baker Mayfield, but they got to find out what they got with Kyle Trask.
Yeah.
Because if this team ends up with the top 5 or 6 picks, And I don't know who these clowns are that's saying that Michael Penix will be there at 20. What are you dreaming? Everybody's saying that, Caleb Williams and then May up in North Carolina. I said, Michael Penix, best quarterback out there. Period. End of story. Watch him. He's accurate. He throws the best ball you've seen, and he has a gun. I don't know why people are thinking he ain't going to be there at 20. Don't even think about it.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to be there at 20 either. I don't see it. I think he's going to go up a lot of draft boards here, especially with his success and then going to the combine. Another guy that I think is going to go up a lot of draft boards and possibly Caleb Williams going down on that draft board would be Jaden Daniels out of LSU. What do you see with this kid? Because he has been projected right now. The Bucs are picking 7th. As crazy as that sounds, I get it. It's November. The season isn't over yet, but Jaden Daniels out of LSU. What do you see with this young man? And then we'll finish off with that.
Well, I'll tell you what, Peter, we're lucky at Amped Up Sports. And we have a photography team of Kelly Champion and Bill Smith that cover LSU. We've been lucky enough in the last 4 years to have our photographers at all the LSU home games and some of the away games and the bowl game. Peter, this guy is the best dual threat quarterback going, period. No, hands down. The run he made, excuse me, I think it was the Alabama game or the Tennessee game, whatever. But he goes like 85 yards. A quarterback going 85 yards, that's unheard of. So, yeah, he would be a great fit for anybody because the kid's big, he's mobile, and again, he can throw the football.
All right, my friend, take care of that voice. Go ahead and promote yourself here on the evolution of Sports Talk Television, my friend.
Hey, go to Amped Up Sports and check us out. And I'll tell you what, come Sunday, I'm going to be a little late for the Bucs game because we're looking for a big announcement from the ReliaQuest Bowl. I'm not going to tell you who they think they're going to get, but it's going to be 2 major icons of college football if that falls the way it thinks it's good. But, Peter, thanks for having me on. Sorry I can't stay on later, just having those issues.
Hey, man, get better. We'll see you on the sports web here soon, all right?
Take care, brother.
All right, good stuff there. The legend himself, Leo Haggerty, former Coach Scout and now media member of Night Sports Productions and Amped Up Sports. So, ReliaQuest coverage, we always got that for you here on the Evolution. We got Jason Powers coming on in just a couple moments here. Let's go back out to the comments. Christopher Cole says, Bucs better score at least 35. Kingley Phillips Jr., Ben Cornett, I'm deaf. Okay, well, no problem. Thanks a lot for tuning in here. Go Bulls, absolutely. Ralph says, good job, South Florida. I think he was saying South Florida. Biden puts ketchup on his hot dogs. I wasn't aware of that, but I like ketchup on my hot dogs. I don't know. Does anybody like ketchup on their hot dogs at this point? Is that a bad thing to say? If you're from Chicago, I have no idea. I don't know what that is all about. You and Harry got some, personal inside joke on it. I'm still going to put ketchup and mustard on my hot dog. Sorry. No such thing as a slam dunk with Todd Bowles. 100. Tom Banner says, go Bucks. Bears fans rooting for Tampa this weekend. Let me go out to Jeremy here. What's up, Peter? What's going on, buddy? How you doing?
Yeah.
And let's go out to Tom. Laugh my ass off. And then TikTok. Mr. Christopher Cole also doing double duty there. The OL started to get started to gel last week, and they're going to get better from here on out. So hopefully they do. Tell you what, let's go out to my tag team partner of the world, No Quarter Given podcast on the buckpower.com podcast network. And of course, Powers on Sports podcast, a busy man himself doing radio today, Mr. Jason Powers. Welcome, my friend. How you doing tonight after the Tampa Bay Buccaneers fall to the Colts 27-20? How you doing?
Hey, Peter Blake. How are you, sir?
I'm doing good, buddy. How are you doing here? And I got, I don't know, we got you. I guess we got your thing there. It's kind of blocking you, so I don't want to do that. There we go. There's your face right there so everybody could see it. Give me your general thoughts on the Bucs losing to the Indianapolis Colts on Sunday.
Well, just more of the same. Unfortunately, more untimely mistakes. Again, a play that I have not heard anybody really talk about that was a critical play in this game. It was the play right before the strip sack at the 2-minute warning. Rashad White fails to get set. causing an illegal shift penalty, which then the Bucs completed a 10-yard pass, which would have been a new first down right at the 2-minute warning. If he gets set and they don't get penalized, they don't have the strip sack on the next play, most likely, because we're not backed up. It's a new first down, and you've got some stability. But that was a huge play in that game, that Rachaad White illegal shift penalty.
Well, it was. And, penalties were the story of the game once again, and especially that first drive where, you get saved because Kyle Trask throws an interception, but it's a false start. But that absolutely hinders your drive because it looks like you're going to score a touchdown. I don't understand why you don't run the ball there. And Baker gets hurt. Kyle comes in, not a bad throw, but just too, not fast enough there. Had Chris Godwin open. I mean, and you get down in these games, and this is the most disappointing thing with being a Bucs fan right now, watching this team. Every game, you don't see this team get off to a fast start. That is on coaching. And then you listen to Baker once again.
I disagree. That's on the players, Peter. I mean,
I think it's on the coaching because the coach doesn't have these players ready, and it's every week. It's an every week occurrence. There's no urgency. There's lack of urgency at all. It takes until usually the third or fourth quarter, usually the fourth quarter, for this team to wake up. I need to see them come out this week versus the Carolina Panthers, and like Coach Alex Golesh said of USF, choke them out. What do you say?
I mean, in a perfect world, sure. Every team wants to start out fast. I mean, to me, I don't think slow starts can be totally blamed on the coaches. To me, that's a player problem. I mean, Baker Mayfield's quarterback. He threw a horrendous interception right to the Indianapolis Colts early in that game. That's not a Todd Bowles problem. That's a Baker Mayfield problem. Now, can you question maybe more aggressive play calling early in the game? You could maybe do that, but I'm not going to put a slow start in why it takes the Bucs a little longer to I'm not going to blame that all on the coaches. To me, that's a player-driven problem. If you have motivated if you have players that have a desire to be great, you're right. It shouldn't take till the middle of the second quarter to get going.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And again, I go back to those comments. Until everybody gets pissed off enough to get it fixed, there will be no change. I know where I'm going to head at the end of the week. I got my job fixed, and I'm going to try to drag as many people along as well. I go back to that comment, and it feels like it's last year with Tom Brady saying, in so many words, there's not guys here that really want this. And I just wonder, when are the players, and it goes back to also Antoine Winfield Jr., earlier, like about a month and a half ago, saying, you know what? Do you want to be great? Does this team want to be great? I get it. It's the NFC South, but you have an opportunity to win this division, and you got to win these games. And the Colts game, that shouldn't have been that much, it shouldn't have been that difficult. You give up 6 sacks. I get it. 3 of those most likely are on Baker Mayfield.
Absolutely, they're on Baker Mayfield. Let's don't let him off the hook.
No, I'm definitely not.
He wants to tell everybody whatever, but he needs to do a better job of that part. I know people are trying to defend Baker and that he's playing. Yeah, I heard a couple callers how he's playing so well. He ain't playing great. He's playing average at best. Let's be real about it. He's playing average at best. The interception he threw Sunday was horrific. He took 3 brutal sacks, which in the NFL in 5 years of being a starting quarterback, you have to throw the ball away. Don't say I can't find my outlet. You have to know where the outlet is or throw the ball in the third row of the stands. So I'm tired of hearing Baker say that kind of stuff when he is a big problem as part of these problems too.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like he locks on his number 1 wide receiver. He does hold the ball a little bit too long. He's not reading. He's not, able to complete passes when they're right there. Chris Godwin on the goal line there, it's wide open. You miss it. You take a sack. You're exactly right. I don't necessarily think he's blameless, but I don't think he's the major problem. For me, unfortunately, I think the major problem is not only this defense, but who's running this defense, and that goes to Todd Bowles. Once again, keeping timeouts. Once again, not challenging plays. Clock management, that was the big thing. How come Jason Powers, my tag team partner of the world here on the sports web, of course, of the buckpower.com podcast network, why do we go into it at halftime with 3 timeouts? Why do we go into it with him not challenging plays, when Mike Evans is asking for it, when they're so close with Mike Evans possibly scoring a touchdown, calling for it, when Payne Jordan looks like he scored a touchdown, you don't even challenge it. Do you get an extra bonus for having extra timeouts, Todd Bowles? I just don't understand it. And it's a week-by-week occurrence for this team. Explain that to me.
Here, okay, well, let's go one by one. One, I don't have a problem with him not challenging the play on the 1 yard line because at best it's gonna be a touchdown. I get it, but at worst, you burn a timeout if they were to rule, hey, he didn't score. You don't want to burn a timeout when it's 1st and goal at the 1/2 yard line. And in my view, I didn't have a big problem with him not doing that because you're a professional football team and you have to be able to get the ball in from the 1 yard line on 1st and goal. So I can understand why he didn't challenge that. On the Mike Evans catch, I think he was going to lose the challenge. He's got people up in the booth that are watching every replay. I think somebody told him over the headset. Again, that's not Todd Bowles, seeing the replay. That's somebody up in the booth watching his replays and telling Todd, hey, let's challenge this. Hey, let's look at it. Hey, no, he didn't catch it. I think if you look at that replay with Mike Evans, I think the ball hit the ground. I'm just being honest with you.
Mm-hmm.
From the couple views that I saw, I think you saw the nose of the ball hit the ground. They were going to lose that challenge. So I don't kill him with that. Now I do, again, has his time management with timeouts late in games been great? No, I'll hammer him on that because Sunday he could have called the timeout with about 3:20 left in the game and saved about 40 seconds, which wouldn't have been so much of a panic at the 2-minute warning. You could have saved a timeout, but he let 40 seconds run off the clock when the Bucs stopped him on 3rd down with about 3:20 left in the game. I didn't like that at all. I'd have loved to have seen a timeout at 3:20, get the ball back with 2 timeouts and the 2-minute warning. Plenty of time, good field position, and you got all day. 3:20 and 2 timeouts is all day to score a touchdown. So I didn't like that. But, I mean, you're right. Is he an inspirational figure in that locker room? I don't know. Only the players in that dressing room know. Again, we don't see him being very demonstrative on the sidelines with the officials, things like that. I don't know if that's an ongoing thing with him during the week in the building. I don't know that. Leo might have a better idea, guys that cover the team. But let's also remember the reality of the situation, Peter Blake. This year, the Bucs are playing with $80 million deficit. That's why there's about 5 or 6 of these guys on this team that are on this team because they have to be because of their salary cap situation, rookie-wise. That's why you have so many rookies. The Bucs are playing from an $80 million deficit. So part of the fan base has to understand that, and I think we all think that we're better than we are. I think we're about where we probably truth serum. Jason Light telling you with truth serum, this is probably about where he thought we'd be, honestly.
Well, I thought the defense would be a lot better, especially.
I agree with that. I agree with that. But the depth, ability to fill in when Levante David goes down, the ability to fill in when the corners go down. Zion McCollum shouldn't be playing in the NFL right now. He's not a quality enough player to be a starter, as an example. I mean, and you have to play those guys. Is Christian Izien, has he done much the last 5-6 weeks? No, but he has to play because he's young, he's cheap, and he's done okay. Not that he can't be a player, but should he be the starting nickel as an undrafted rookie? Probably not, if we're being honest about it.
I'm going to read this comment, and I'm going to get out to Tampa Bay. Ray Kennedy, Bucks lose this weekend, and it's BUCS, not Milwaukee Bucks. It's okay. Bucks lose this weekend. They should fire Todd Bowles immediately. With that being said, let's go out to Tampa Bay. Ray Kennedy, best of the Bay. Welcome to the evolution of Sports Talk Television. How you doing tonight, my friend?
I'm good, fellas. I was just listening to the show. Great show. And Jason, good to talk to you, brother. And I'll just jump right in here. I know we're talking about that clock management. A lot of people were talking about last week when Bowles sat on those timeouts, not when you said, Jason, at the 3-minute mark to have kept more time, but at the very end of the game. And I think, Bruce Arians or a fiery coach or a John Gruden, just to use a couple of former Bucs coaches as examples, they'd have used Bill Belichick would have used every timeout just to bust the other team's balls. Use it, even when the game is way out of hand. And that's an example of the kind of difference you get with a Todd Bowles versus a fiery type of a coach, which I think at this point we're all wishing we had. Is he's not going to use those timeouts just to use those timeouts. And people are going to, after the game, I saw message boards where they're going, why did he sit on those timeouts? There was no way those timeouts at the very end of the game would have helped him win that game. So what does calling the timeout do? Thank you, Jason.
I totally agree, Ray.
But I do like the fact that I do agree, though, he's not fiery at all. And I think that's part of the disconnect we see here with the team when they're winning, and we see him in the locker room going, yeah, everybody's excited. And then when he's losing, he's got that stoic, very quiet sideline figure. And I think we want to see some heads roll. And I think he realizes, like you just said, Jason, that it's just not in the cards with the $80 million currently they're feeding this year.
No, I'll tell you right now, let me go out to that question. Do you feel like if they happen to lose versus the Carolina Panthers, and we've seen crazier things before happen with this team, do the Bucs and ownership, are they forced to fire Todd Bowles, Jason?
No, I'm going to say no, because one, they don't do, that's not their MO to do it in season. And two, looking at that coaching staff, who's going to be the interim head coach?
Yeah.
Dave Canales can't be the head coach. You have nobody on defense who can be the head coach. Who's going to be the head coach if you fire Todd Bowles on Monday?
Harold Goodwin, maybe. I mean, that's been thrown out there. I'm just saying. I mean, you can't lose to the Carolina Panthers, because after that, you're basically toast. I mean,
okay, I agree. Is he going to get fired at the end of the year? There's a good possibility of that. But
right.
The Glazers' MO is not to fire him during the regular season. I just don't think that's. I mean, what's that going to accomplish?
I agree. I'm going to hold off on the phone calls here, Jim. I'll get back to you in a moment. I know you want to comment on it. Fans, you want to comment on it if you want to talk.
And by the way,
yes.
Can I add one more point to Ray's point about the timeouts?
Sure, go for it.
Guess what we hated when a former Buccaneer head coach played hard during kneel down situations? Mr. Greg Schiano. We thought it was a clown show, right?
Yeah,
well,
right.
I'm not saying to that point, okay, but I'm saying you have to have better clock management than you do. And also, if you have an opportunity, you have timeouts.
You can't win the game, Peter. There's 40 seconds left in the game. There's no chance to win the game. That's disrespect, bro. The game's over. They got the first down they had to get to ice the game. What are we going to do? What are we going to sit out there another 3 minutes so they can kneel down 3 times?
I'm just saying the optic of it looks like you're quitting. And then furthermore, you could have challenged things to use those timeouts. You wouldn't have them in the first place on those questionable calls when you have some touchdowns there that you can look at. You never know how it changes. So for you, Tampa Bay, Ray Kennedy, same question. If the Bucs happen to lose to the Carolina Panthers, do they fire Todd Bowles on Monday?
No, I think it's because whether he was force-fed from Bruce Arians, Jason Light picked him, Todd Bowles was the succession plan all along, and it would have been Byron Leftwich just if Tom Brady wouldn't have had a bad off year in 2022. I think that there's definitely, like Jason said, and I think you'd agree, Peter, like with coaches like Brandon Staley out there in San Diego fighting for his job now, and we know about Eberflus and the Bears, and we find out what on average every year, 7 to 8 coaches are fired year in and year out because it's all about what have you done for me lately. My biggest thing is what he deserve. If they lose to the Carolina Panthers this week, the worst thing, an interim coach, and throw in an interim quarterback. Bucs seem to have bad luck there. It would be the worst of all optics. But man, in 2024, tell me another coach that's going to, at least if we get an offense that can consistently move the ball and give our defense a chance to not be on the field where the other team's offenses are currently prodding and poking, give me another coach that's going to come in here and give us the best chance to have success against our divisional foes. Todd Bowles, he's shown, and even this year with the defense out, guys, at halftime, and J.P. Peterson talked about this today, at halftime in every game, the Bucs have been within a touchdown, even except for the Eagles game. Yep. All the games this year, the offense just drops the ball. And by the second half, the other teams, usually offensive coordinator coaches, they're finding what works against this Buccaneers defense. Jason, they're finding what works against an Izien or a McCollum, because Todd Bowles is a great defensive coordinator, can only hide the blemishes for so long. You give the other team's offenses 75 plays, they're going to figure out what works. We're keeping teams in check. If our offense consistently moves the ball and makes first downs, our defense would have more success. They would still be burned at times, but they wouldn't be burned as bad as they have been in 2023.
I don't know. I mean, I look at it the first part of the year, maybe you're able to say that, but lately it's been, coverage bust after coverage bust. Let's talk about the play there, 30 yards. Mo Alley Cox, whether it's Devin White or it's Carlton Davis on this, we have seen this
That ain't Devin White. That ain't Devin White's guy on 4th and 1. That's one of the DBs. That is not a Devin White coverage on a tight end. Sorry. I know we want to blame Devin. Devin's the middle linebacker. That is not on 4th and 1 goal line, kind of a short yardage. Devin White's not responsible for the tight end. That's a Carlton Davis or a Ryan Neal or whoever. I'd have to look at the replay of the DBs that were off the line of scrimmage. That's one of those guys' guy.
So is that just on players, or is that once again, Jason, on coaching? Because
no, that's a player.
But to me, that's coaching, because we continue to see blown coverages. And if the players that are doing these blown coverages are not benched or don't have—
Who are you going to put in? Peter, back to the salary cap. Who are you putting in? If you bench Carlton Davis, who are you putting in?
the way he has played this year, I don't care who you put in, but at the end of the day, if those players are not getting it done, they need to be benched. And that is on coaching. That is
Carlton Davis actually played pretty good Sunday.
And here's the thing.
He played pretty good.
Go to San Francisco. It wasn't until late in the third quarter that Brandon Ayuk gets that big pass. Go back to the Atlanta game we lost. It wasn't until the third and fourth quarter when they finally figured out Drake London could go over the middle. It's not until the third or fourth quarter against the Bills when they realized that, that they can go up tempo. And even with the up tempo the entire game, the Bucs still hold them in check. I'm not trying to blame it all on the offense, but I'm telling you guys, if our offense could not only consistently hold the ball more, but even get a lead, other teams' offenses would be more desperate. Our defenses could pin their ears, and we would have that success. It's not the same as it was in 2000.
Then riddle me this then, Batman. Why is this team able to score 37 points versus the Houston Texans and give up 39? That is on the defense. That is on Todd Bowles once again. That is on them. If you're able to stop the Atlanta Falcons on that drive, and again, I go back to it. People can say, well, it's on the offense. Okay, first-year offensive coordinator, first-year quarterback, there was going to be bumps in the road. What were we sold? Carlton Davis, Gravedigger, Devin White, won a Super Bowl. All those guys, Jamel Dean, got re-signed. Levante Davids played his ass off. Kalijah Kancey, a rookie. Yaya Diaby, JTS, Vita Vea. But the back end has been disappointing. Ryan Neal. That is on the defense. Our plan, what we talked about in the offseason with all these shows here on the Sports Web and, of course, no quarter given. If this offense could just be score 18 to 20 points, this defense could shut them out. And the defense hasn't been able to do it. And they have gotten worse and worse and worse, especially when people are saying, well, it's all on the offense. Really? Because they scored 37 points versus the Houston freaking Texans with a rookie quarterback, and he threw for a record 470 yards of passing. That is on your defense. Let's stop with
that game. Peter Blake, you're 1,000. That game was on the defense, no doubt. Yeah. But the majority of the problems that the Buccaneers have had in these close games, and back to Ray's point, we've not gotten blown out in a game yet, really. There's not been a 42-10, 38-7 kind of game. Yeah, the Eagle game was a little out of hand, but, we've not gotten blown out in a game all year. It's the inability of the offense, and I'm going to say this, Baker Mayfield, he is what he is. He's an average quarterback.
Well, I don't think Kyle Trask is doing any better.
I didn't say he was. But we've not seen Kyle Trask fail in a game yet. That's what we haven't done. And to your point, if the Bucs lose Sunday to Carolina, this will be Baker Mayfield's last game as the Buccaneers starting quarterback. Kyle Trask will be starting on Tuesday.
That's my question right there to you. We'll go out to that. Jason Powers, thanks a lot for stealing my thunder, but that's what you do. Tag team partner of the world. Tampa Bay.
I'm sorry, my bad. Was that where you're going next? I'm sorry.
It's all right. It's the Sports Web. I'm your host, Peter Blake. Open phone lines if you want to get in on this conversation. 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. So if they lose or their offense struggles, let's say they win, do you still replace Mayfield with a Kyle Trask? And do you think the offense is better? I tell you what, before we get to that, let's get out to our phone lines here. Jim using his second call. What do you have to say on this matter on the Sports Web?
Yeah, I like your co-host. We keeping Todd Bowles. He ain't going nowhere. We need to get it together.
So you're on the Todd Bowles train here. You're keeping Todd Bowles. You're good with bringing him back next year, even if you don't win the NFC South. Or let's say you win the NFC South and you get your doors blown off in the first round. You're okay, Jim, bringing back Todd Bowles. Why?
Yeah, because like they said, where's all the head coaches coming from? We ain't got no head coach. Well, I'm trying to figure out who we putting in.
Well, you may not fire him after the Carolina game, but at the end of the season, you have plenty of head coaches out there that would want. I'll throw out some big names at this point. Bill Belichick has been bandied about. Jim Harbaugh out of Michigan. You have some young offensive minds. Brian Johnson, I believe, from Philadelphia. The other Johnson there.
Come on, Peter, come on now.
I'm just saying they're throwing
Brian Johnson out of Philadelphia.
Yeah, Brian Johnson, the other Johnson there.
Maybe Ben Johnson from Detroit. I'll give you that one. But not Brian Johnson out of Philadelphia, please.
Oh, it makes sense because of the way he worked with Jalen Hurts. He's worked with that offense.
And how's that offense looking compared to last year with Shane Steichen?
It's
not very good.
But also, he's worked with who? Kyle Trask. There you go. And there's also other names out there, just throwing it out there. So, Jim, yes, there will be coaching candidates if Todd Bowles doesn't get it done. And I think he at least has to win a playoff game in order to keep his job. That's just my opinion. What do you say?
I don't know. I like Todd Bowles, but
I like Todd Bowles too. But do you like, clock management issues? Do you like keeping all your timeouts before halftime? Do you like blown coverages? I mean, all I hear is excuses for the defense. This guy's supposed to be one of the top defensive coordinators, and I haven't been able to see it the last 5 weeks. What's going on? I tell you what, Jim, we got to run. We're going to go out to one of our another guests here on the Evolution. Right. Thanks a lot for the call. Let's go out to Drew Felios. Drew, welcome to the Sports Web. You're on with yours truly, along with Jason Powers on Sports Podcast, and of course, Best of the Bay, Tampa Bay Ray. What do you have to say about this?
Guys, I love the debate. You guys are awesome going back and forth.
Thank you.
And it's cool to see Powers. Powers and I used to have these conversations when we were 14, 15 years old. To see him bring his knowledge to the forefront now in 2023 on your platform, Peter, is awesome. So you guys do great work.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this.
Yes.
Any possibility of a second act for Chucky John Gruden? You know that this area would welcome him back with open arms if he did pursue the Bucs head coaching job if Todd Bowles was released.
I was told by somebody that will never happen unless hell froze over. Look, this is not the WWE because, CM Punk coming back to the WWE is possible. I do not think that the Glazers would ever welcome John Gruden back with open arms as the coach. I know there's a lot of fans out there who would want to see it. Furthermore, the NFL would be against it. I mean, NFL Network takes off every time America's game comes on for Super Bowl 37. They take the special off. They don't even mention the Bucs or John Gruden. I don't see it happening. And then I think you got to go after a young offensive mind either. And my co-host here, Mr. Jason Powers, he disagrees with me with Brian Johnson from the Eagles. And is it Ben Johnson from the Detroit Lions?
Yes,
Johnson. But they've had their fair share of problems too, Jason. I mean, look at what they did against the Green Bay Packers. I mean, that was absolute. I mean, honestly. So what do you say, Drew?
Well, man, I'd love to see him. I'd love to see him back. I know that was incredible when CM Punk walked into the building last week because the way he, of course, another story, another day, he didn't have a falling out with WWE before. He crapped on the whole business in general and made so many people look bad.
Correct.
With the things that he said. So that's why I was a little disappointed on that. The other question I wanted to ask you guys, though, big question for you, Peter, because I know you follow USF football like crazy.
Mm-hmm.
I know probably 6 months ago, a lot of people were saying, man, I wish we had got Deion Sanders as our coach. If right now you could swap and bring in Deion for Alex Golesh, would you do it?
No, I think Alex Golesh is the right guy. Maybe I'm biased because I've talked to him many times and he's always expounded on his responses, but I think he's the right guy for this job. I love Deion Sanders. I love what he brings. Yes, he brings Shedeur Sanders, but you got Byron Brown right now as a freshman. He always talks about process, Drew. I love that about him. They got a direction there. They made some changes. It's worked out. I get it. They haven't necessarily beat, the upper echelon teams in college football, but they were able to hang with Alabama. And I want UCF in the Gasparilla Bowl. So to answer your question, I think they got the right man for the job. And then furthermore, if Deion has some success with Colorado, I think the NFL will be calling in a couple years. With Alex, there may be a major program out there, but I think you got him for the long haul. I think he's committed to the USF Bulls, and they got the right man for the job.
Here's what I'll say, guys. You better find some money for Byron Brown in NIL because there are some schools calling, and whether it's publicly or not, you better find some money to be able to keep Byron Brown, or you're going to have a major problem at the quarterback position real soon.
Well, Pete, let's talk about what we were talking about Saturday night at the USF game. I mean, it's not we didn't. Let's just, I don't want to, we didn't actually source this, but there were some rumors that, this last week, Byron Brown had been started following a specific other college on social media, and we didn't source it, so we couldn't run with it. We didn't ask the question. We didn't report it because we didn't know for sure. And that's not good reporting. The truth of the matter is it made you realize that Byron Brown, the talent that he is, and the way the portal, transfer portal and NIL these days is that, these boosters, these USF boosters, not just, build a stadium stadium for 2026 on campus, but they better realize that Coach Golesh is going to go ahead and build this program, and he's a dog. You talk about someone who works those. You talk about Todd Bowles not working the refs there, Jason. Golesh doesn't let up on those refs, but he's a dog. But you're going to have to figure out a way in this day and age to keep these players here, because it's still USF is still one of the, if not the finest institutions for learning in the state of Florida. But you got to let these players know that they're wanted, and the way they know that they're wanted is getting that and name, image, and likeness money.
Well, absolutely. And go back to Drew's point here. You're exactly right. You're going to have to get some money up. You're going to have to get an on-campus stadium. I think it's going to work. You know, a lot of people are down on USF fans, but look at Drew and Jason and Ray, what they've had to go through the last couple of years with changing coaches and not having wins. I'm telling you right now, the area of Tampa Bay, when you win and when you're committed to winning and you're spending money, raise, people actually show up.
Do they, Peter? How many? Honestly, what was the attendance Saturday night
for USF? About 30,000. It's about 30,000.
What? Peter.
It was announced.
Peter, be honest, Peter. Come on, Peter.
All right. Jay, are you saying that right now, if looking back in retrospect, you would take Deion because he put more butts in seats? Is that what you are saying right now?
I'm going to give Alex Golesh all the credit for his coaching and development of the current roster. But if you look at it as a 3-year project, do I think Deion Sanders, from a recruiting perspective, transfer portal perspective, attendance perspective, would have had Tampa jumping a little bit more than Alex Golesh? I don't know what the ultimate results would have been this year with Deion, but yes, I will say that Deion in the state of Florida, with his connections at Florida State, high school recruiting, transfers, yes. NIL money. You don't think people would be writing checks to Deion Sanders if he was the head coach at USF? Yes.
Well, I tell you what, you make a great point. I mean, Ray, what do you say here? Drew, bringing up Drew Felios here.
And I like Coach Golesh, and he's done a hell of a job.
Right. Ray, what do you say? I mean, right man for the right job. Would you trade here? Would you trade Alex Golesh for Deion Sanders?
Well, Jason makes a great point. Obviously, the money would come in. You'd have FSU boosters that would put money in the USF program just to take care of Coach Deion. But the fact of the matter is, for the long game, for the long play, watching this, and again, my son just started playing freshman football, high school football as a freshman this year, and he's starting on varsity, and I'm just tickled pink. I'm getting more into the organics of football, and you're talking about building a program from the ground up and building a part of that process. And in the short term, did I want Deion to come here before he swung through and stole those 2 receivers and took them out to Colorado, which, by the way, I bet they're wishing they hadn't gone now. Yeah, I did want them then, but right now what Coach Golesh is doing with this program, I just love it. But we got to see the USF boosters. We got to see the community. We got to see the butts in the seats, because at the end of the day, I'll say this though, Jason. I don't know about the announced attendance for Saturday night, but compared to all the other games this season there, it was at least double what they've had. Now, it was fan appreciation night. It was a night game. The weather was beautiful, and they were trying to get into a bowl, which, by the way, they did. But there was a good buildup in attendance there. If they can continue building on that, I wouldn't trade Golesh now. Now, ask me 6 months ago, I probably would have taken Deion because I thought we might have had a chance. But now I like this program where it's going, and I'll take my chances for the long play on this.
But here's what I'm going to ask you guys.
Mm-hmm.
If Wake Forest called tomorrow to Alex Golesh and wanted to hire him to be the head coach, would he be on the first plane to Wake Forest?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Mid-level Power 5 school.
Yes. Well, here's the thing: the AAC, to that point, the AAC is getting into the playoffs next year. So if if they win, then they get a playoff game.
If Duke called tomorrow, would he go to Duke? Duke's open.
I think
yes.
I think
Jason,
he would stay.
I'm sorry.
With USF. Yes. Go ahead. We got Drew on the phone too. Drew, do you want to?
Sorry, Drew. Go ahead.
Yeah. Thanks, guy. I think, just knowing Alex Golesh, I spent a little bit of time with him, had a chance to call some Bulls football this year. I think, Jay, he would stay. I think he's that type of guy. He's got his heart and soul in it. I think he's vested in it. He wants to see this through. Now, another year or two, I think, the hand's going to be out. Hey, pay me, or I'm out of here.
The NIL money's not there to keep their own guys. There's no NIL money.
Well, here's solving that. Once Florida State leaves the ACC, guess who will become calling, especially if USF is winning? They'll call USF. That will be the team right there.
And I'll finish with this thought too, Jason, if I could. It was after the Temple game there. We were covering that game, Peter. Great job, by the way.
Thank you.
on us. And of course,
Appreciate it.
Coach Golish was there, and we were asking the good questions there in the post game conference. But Coach wanted to get out of there because his 9-year-old son was playing in a U8 or U9 tournament over there in Tampa, and everybody asked the questions we had to ask, and then we stepped aside. Of course, Byron Brown was getting ready to get up there, so we're like, "All right, Coach, go ahead." He got to run over, got to go watch his kid play. It was mid-November, and it was a nice balmy 79 degrees, low humidity, and he went to watch his 9-year-old play. Can I say that he would not take the call or go to Wake Forest? I can't. But like Drew was saying, I believe that he is in this for the long haul. And I think at the end of the day, as long as he's taken care of, he's a family guy, wants to build a program. He understands that USF, other than Jim Levitt 100 years ago, they're short on legacy. And we're still trying to build that legacy.
100 years ago, it's 2007.
It seems like it. It seems like it.
It absolutely seems like it. I tell you right now, yes.
And I want to go back to Drew's question about Gruden.
Yeah.
Here's what I would say, Drew, and I'm just being serious here. If Gruden would drop his lawsuit against the National Football League, he'll never get a job while he's still suing the National Football League. If they settled or he dropped the suit, I think he could be a viable candidate for somebody to hire him again. Because if Bobby Petrino, who just got hired as the OC at Arkansas, can go back, I think there's a market for a guy like John Gruden. But there will not be a market for Gruden as long as he has that lawsuit against the National Football League still in play.
Jay, it is unbelievable. Now with Petrino, with Rick Pitino, getting chance after chance.
Yep.
These schools, Peter, these schools they are shameless. They could care less. As long as they know their programs are bringing in the money, the moolah, they'll hire anybody. I mean, It is unbelievable, isn't it?
I would throw a name out.
Don't be afraid to see Gruden get in the mix for a college job.
Well,
Don't be surprised. He could be in the mix for a college job.
That's certainly possible, but I don't know if I'm a parent. I want John Gruden coming into my living room with some of the things that were said before. With that being said, I will throw a name out there that I think if he gets fired by the Pittsburgh Steelers, he should be one of the guys that the Glazers call right away. I know he's a defensive-minded coach.
He ain't getting fired, bro.
Mike Tomlin.
He ain't getting fired.
If he got fired from the Pittsburgh Steelers, I'm throwing it out there. And there was a lot of talk out there. The Glazers, the biggest mistake they ever made, get out of that building. Mike Tomlin for me would be the perfect guy if you're looking for a big name coach. If you're looking for an offensive mind, the Johnson guys,
Mike Tomlin would have 10 job offers in 10 minutes after he got fired by the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Well, I'll finish that thought. I'll take Raheem Morris. He's had a chance both to be an offensive and a defensive coordinator. He's been out there with McVay and the Rams for a few years, and he was the guy that we hired to try to make up for the cover for the Mike Tomlin misfire to go into Pittsburgh. And the thing is, he's seasoned now. Now I don't know if he'd want to come back here, but maybe Jason could talk to him. But I think we're getting ahead of ourselves, guys. I really do. I said this before. I don't think Todd Bowles is truly fired unless he loses his locker room. And I think you already pointed out, Jason, I don't think we have a full read on this locker room. And Baker's comments led us to believe maybe there's some kind of dissension. But the truth of the matter is, Bowles hasn't lost his locker room. So at the end of this year, again, if you're wanting to blow this whole thing up, okay, the Panthers fired Reich, Arthur Smith's there in Atlanta, and of course we know what's going on with. I don't even know if Dennis Allen lasts another year there in New Orleans. But as far as a guy who knows how to build a defense to win a division, and guys, we know to be successful to get to the postseason, you have to first think about winning your division. I still say the Buccaneers and Todd Bowles' defense can win this division. The problem is we have to find an offense that can help us win the other games.
Well, and I will say this: you got to have a defensive leader like Devin White, who's not making business decisions not to tackle quarterbacks that are not named Patrick Mahomes. You got to play with more effort. You got to be able to shed a tackle. You got to be a leader on this team without Levante David, and he has regressed. Drew, let me ask you this question, and we'll get you out of here. And thanks a lot for joining us here on the Evolution of Sports Talk Television. It's the Sports Web. Do you think this team can turn it around, especially defensively, with a guy like a Devin White and a Todd Bowles leading the charge?
Yes, because those guys have done it before for us on the grandest stage. I still believe in Devin White. I think, I know a lot of people are going to roll their eyes when I say this, but I think there was just an aura, a respect that Tom Brady brought to the entire team. Yeah. Everybody thought that they had – everybody, was on point. Everybody was held accountable. Everybody knew that they had to bring it every day in and day out. Now, I know the last year was a little bit, weird with everything that happened with Brady off the field. But those first 2 years, man, there was a different vibe. There was a different Kool-Aid in that locker room. And without that now, it just seems like a lot of air has been let out of the balloon. And, Mike Evans, I've said it before on this show, great player. Is he a Hall of Famer? I still think that's to be determined. A lot of people say yes. I don't know if he's the leader on this team. Is he the guy that keeps everybody accountable? No. So I think they can do it, Peter, but I do think we need more leadership. We need a Hardy Nickerson type of guy, that enforcer who really holds guys accountable on this team.
And that's exactly what Tampa Bay Ray Kennedy, my co-host, their Best of the Bay, was saying the other night. And I think that's what this team is missing also, because look, you lose a JPP, you lose an Ndamukong Suh, and say whatever you want to about those players and maybe not necessarily playing up to their levels, but the leadership is so invaluable. And when you miss that, who is holding anybody accountable? Levante David, is he a leader? He's kind of like a soft-spoken guy.
By example.
Yeah. Right. You read, I think he's like Derek Brooks, but Derek Brooks was, you knew what Derek Brooks was.
In this new age of football, you have to hit at the quarterback position, whether it's from a leadership perspective and a performance perspective. When you hit at that position, to Drew's point, everybody gets in line. You have to hit. Baker Mayfield, as much as we think he's a good guy and all this, and he tries hard, he's an average quarterback at best. He's proven that over 5 years. He ain't taking nobody to a Super Bowl. You got to find the guy, the trigger man, to be the guy who will demand that accountability on both sides of the ball.
Jay, in Bucks terms, I think he's Bruce Gradkowski 2.0.
Yes.
I think he's Jeff Garcia. I think he's Garcia.
Okay.
Plays, he can run around. But here's the thing. Garcia had success. He took him to the playoffs, but also you had a defense that, fell by the wayside to the eventual Super Bowl champion New York Giants, who beat Tom Brady and the undefeated.
Guys, let me ask you this. Remember Geno Smith in 2022? Geno Smith had a great year, and of course, it got Dave Canales a offensive coordinator's job here. Was Geno Smith a scrambling quarterback, or was he more a stand in the pocket type of quarterback, reading the defense and making the passes using his years of experience, which Kyle Trask doesn't have? I want to know at the end of the day. If I could ask any question of anybody with a true serum, I'd like to know if Dave Canales would like to see Kyle Trask in this offense. I'd like to know if he'd like to see what a true pocket passer would do, being able to draw the defense not up to cover, because Baker's got to scramble out of the pocket to see over the line. The defense knows they can cover Rachaad White both in the backfield and in the flats, and we've seen Chris Godwin get blown up on screen passes this year. I'd like to see what a 6'5" pocket passer would do in his offense, and would that open up this running game? I don't want to see Baker Mayfield taken out because he's lost these games. He's actually won us 1 or 2 games. I'm just wanting to know what a 6'5" pocket passer would mean in this offense.
How many plays have we left on the field because Baker Mayfield's 6 feet tall, leads the league in getting balls batted down at the line of scrimmage, and sacks that he's taken because he can't see through the throwing lanes because he's 6 foot tall.
To be fair, I get that, but you look at the third down conversions, third down passing. He's been good on that. How many plays
has he? There's been a couple games he's been good. He's not been great over the course of 10 weeks. He's had a couple of really good games. Give him credit, but he's not been great at third down.
Well, I think
his accuracy, and he misses too many gimmies. In this league, you cannot miss the gimme throws, the easy 8-yard out routes, the ball. I mean, he misses throws that you can't miss in this league to be a great quarterback.
Throws. He definitely misses some throws and some reads. I get that. Drew, I mean, what's your take on Baker Mayfield? Do you feel like if they do struggle versus Carolina, should they replace him with Kyle Trask? Because everybody wants to see what you got there.
You have to. He's a second-round draft pick. You have to see what you have in him this year. He's going into a contract near next year. You have to.
Drew?
I do think that we kind of are seeing what we see as what we get with Baker, as Jason has said. Can't fault the effort. I think this guy goes out there, he brings it. He really is locked in. But I think we're seeing what we have. We're seeing a guy who can be good, and then the next play, not so good. I think he's a very good backup in this league. I don't think, come on. Cleveland, Rams, Carolina. There's a reason why he bounced around. There's a reason why we're his 4th team. nothing against him,
No.
but I do feel like we're seeing if we think that all of a sudden this guy's going to find lightning and just lead us, to the playoffs and NFC Championship, whatever, it ain't happening with Baker Mayfield at the helm.
Well, I tell you right now,
So,
I think it would. I think it would definitely be helpful to have a consistent running game, which you got 100 yards, but you haven't had that throughout the year. And my thing was, you got Baker Mayfield. He's playing average football. He's not turning over the ball. You're running the ball.
He is turning over the ball.
Well, he
had 2 critical turnovers Sunday.
Okay,
2. One was horrific. He threw the horrific interception against Atlanta. Horrific.
Jason, I understand what you're saying about the interception, but the fumble is not his fault. That is on the offensive line. And then furthermore, I understand what you're saying. I get that. But the thing was, what I think the Bucs were thinking, guys, is the fact that he's going to be a DLG quarterback. He's going to be able to make some throws. He's not going to turn over the ball. You're going to limit those throws because you're going to have a consistent run game, which they haven't had. And you're going to depend on your defense. And a lot of the 2 of the 3 of those things have failed. And I think that's the reason why they've also struggled.
Pete, here's the thing for me, though. Okay, so the worst thing, as bad as I want the Bucs to beat for the first time in team history to win their 3rd consecutive NFC South division title, which that in itself is almost a little bit better than hanging a wild card banner over at Tropicana Field. But at the end of the day, they're either going to pay they're either going to pay Baker, or if he gets a chance to play and they find out they got a dog in Kyle Trask, they're going to pay one of these guys north of 30 million in 2024.
No, they're not, Bray.
Well,
they're going to draft somebody.
Well, and again, so they're going to draft middle of the pack. So you might as well go ahead and fire Bowles. If you're going to blow the whole thing up, it's going to take another quarterback coming in because he's not going to have a CJ Stroud. We're not the Texans. We didn't trade away Deshaun Watson. We don't have those draft picks. This team is complete rebuild. We draft another quarterback, then we're looking at probably playoffs again in maybe 2028.
No, you're not looking at playoffs in 2028. Stop it. You can rebuild a team in a couple years. The Texans can do it. There's a lot of teams that can do it. Drew, thanks a lot for your time and the call, as always, my friend, here on the Sports Web.
Guys, thank you. If I could get one plug in before I hang up here.
Go for it.
Friday night, 5:30 p.m. You guys are invited. Please come out. Montverde Academy, the #1 player in the country, Cooper Flagg, who just committed to Duke University, incredible basketball player. He's got the mindset and the instincts of a Larry Bird. This guy's incredible. He faces off against Miami Columbus High School, Carlos Boozer's kids. They're twins, plus Jace Richardson, a Michigan State recruit. So it's really the top 2 teams in the entire country in high school basketball. Friday, 5:30. It's an ESPN2 game. If you don't come out, I'm going to try and get Jason out to the game, but watch it on TV. It is going to be an absolute showcase. Packed house. Me and Paul Biancardi have the call from Montverde. Going to be awesome.
I love this guy, and I tell you right now, he also does karate combat also, right? You still do that, Drew?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Love it. I love the karate.
Danielson.
And see, he likes
finish him. Danielson, finish him.
Guys, he also likes wrestling too, so he's definitely always invited here. I know you're a wrestling fan. What did you think about CM Punk coming out on Saturday night? Were you losing your mind on that?
Man, I mean, well, everybody's wondering, was the Seth Rollins reaction, was that a work? Yeah.
Definitely a work. Definitely a work.
You think so?
Okay. Absolutely.
See, because it happened when the cameras were off.
Yes.
So that's why I think everybody was confused. Usually if it's a work, the cameras are on, and of course they make an angle out of it. But Jay, if you missed it, Seth Rollins was literally going crazy. So, I mean, CM Punk, he is the most polarizing figure in the history of pro wrestling. And again, the things he said the first time in his first WWE exit, the things he said then, and then when he went to AEW, he crapped all over WWE again. And then now he's back and he's like, I'm home. Get out of here, man.
Yeah.
It's going to be really interesting. But hey, I love to see it. Makes it more interesting. And guys, thanks again for having me on.
Yeah, Royal Rumble coming to Tropicana there in January. So
I'm really trying to work that, Peter. You're trying to work that angle.
I'm trying to get in there. Drew Bellios, thanks a lot for your time here on The Evolution. All right.
Great, guys. Thanks.
All right. Good stuff there. Yeah. Talking wrestling here. I know, Jason, you're not the biggest wrestling fan.
I keep up a little bit. I just don't keep up with every story.
I got to keep you up on the storyline here, but I think there's a conspiracy theory out there. I think Mr. CM Punk went to AEW screwed himself up with Tony Khan in that locker room to get out of his contract. Maybe he was told by Triple H or somebody at WWE to do that because there was some type of meeting before or when he was suspended with AEW when he got out of hand before. So I think there's a possibility of a conspiracy theory. He screwed himself up so he could go home and wrestle eventually Seth Rollins. That is a great booking there. WrestleMania 40 in Philadelphia, and then eventually Roman Reigns. All right, let's get back out to the
real quick. Real quick now. Hold on. I'm gonna show you my wrestling knowledge. I keep up.
Okay.
By the way, how rough did Sunny look in her sentencing to jail the other day?
Yeah.
How rough did she look?
And
how rough did she look?
Awful. It's an awful story because growing up, and Ray, I don't know if you watch wrestling or not, but go ahead and YouTube it, kids. In 94, she was like the first diva, like this, unbelievably beautiful, great on the mic. They had a dark side of the ring on her. Yep. Amazing. And it's just sad because all the off the ring, off the stuff, the demons,
drinking problems. She killed somebody in a car accident, basically.
Yeah.
Which is terrible.
I'll finish your inquiry. I was sitting ringside next to Hulk Hogan and Macho Man Randy Savage's wife at Slamboree 95 over in the Bayfront Center, and I got to see Chief Wahoo. I got to see Hacksaw Jim Duggan. I got to see Macho Man actually wrestled in that with Hulk Hogan. So yeah, I got front row seats. And my guy Todd Wright, who was with ESPN overnight, of course, him and I played football, went to Seminole High School together. He was with I think it was WDAE at the time, but he was with the radio station that I had gotten tickets off of, and he was fourth row. I was front row center, sitting next to a young
Miss Elizabeth, baby, Miss Elizabeth.
Oh, that's another one.
Hulk Hogan's daughter. But yeah, no, I love wrestling. I haven't had a chance to follow it much lately, but I like it because it's a good story, and everybody likes a good story.
All right, let's go out to the phone lines. You're on the Sports Web. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, Peter, it's Jeremy.
What's going on, Jeremy? What do you have to say?
All I can say is it's going to be an interesting game watching Sunday. Either we're going to win and get back in the winning page, or we're going to lose, and there's going to be a lot of hateful butt fans for Todd Bowles.
I mean, where do you stand on this? Do you think Todd Bowles is the biggest problem with this team? Are you done? Are you thinking the Bucs, if they don't beat Carolina, is looking to fire him? Are you looking to replace Baker Mayfield with Kyle Trask? What are you looking to do right now?
I just want to see some fire, man. I want to see some dogs out there.
Right. I want to see somebody flying around. Right. Exactly. Go ahead, Jeremy.
That's what I'm saying. Like, Bowles, no disrespect to fire a guy. He respects the defensive coordinator. He wants to help win a Super Bowl against Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. But at the same time, there's no fire, man. And no one's firing up. Even Antoine Winfield, he wasn't smiling much because even he's over it. He's over the players in the locker room not taking it serious. And, it's hard to really put on Todd Bowles. But at the same time, if you're the head guy, you got to get this locker room fired up here. You can't just go into a game and try to, what's the word I'm looking for? Try to just sit there with your arms crossed. You need to fire these guys up. Like, you can't just sit there. I know he's reserving his timeouts. We go back and forth on that. But at the end of the day, I feel like there's no fire in the locker room, and that's why even Baker Mayfield spoke about it after the game, that there's not enough pissed off people in the locker room. So that tells me that some players aren't really here.
I think it's a good point, and I think it goes also back to what Todd Bowles was saying last year about some of the players living off their Super Bowl, memories, and you can't do that because, again, every season is different, but you start to see the same things happening: clock management, accountability, urgency. We don't see enough of that, and I get it. It may be unfair to put that all on Todd Bowles, but it is on Todd Bowles, and for me, he's coaching this defense. This defense hasn't been as good as it was the last couple of years. It has regressed. It has not gotten better. Devin White, he doesn't look like the same player. Carlton Davis doesn't look like the same player, and it looks like Ray. I think we lost Ray, so Ray is gone. There we go, and I know it's disappointing, Jeremy. What else do you have? What else is on your mind tonight here on the Sports Web?
Well, back to Devin White. It's really hard to root for him because he has not played at the level he was playing in 2020. For example, when he was going in for the tackle on Gardner Minshew, In 2020, he would have laid that man out, put him right on his head, and that's be it. I mean, remember the Derek Carr situation when he tried running and he put Derek Carr in his ass, he tried to run. But when you see the Gardner Minshew, he put his arm out and he got juked out of his shoes. I'm like, okay, if you're that hurt, if your foot hurts that bad, then get off the field and put in somebody else, whether it's KJ Britt, Dennis, I don't care, whoever, but you got to make that play. If you want to get paid top dollar, you got to make those tackles, even if your foot is hurt. And that's why Warren Sapp's been all over him captain, on the captain thing, and he go out there, and then he's going after his play the last couple of years. I can't blame Warren Sapp. We need a guy in there to call him out saying, bro, you're not doing your part. If you're injured, get on the sideline and let somebody else go in to help us win football games.
Good point. Yeah, he talks a lot. He talked a lot in the offseason, of course, trade request and a new contract, and you think you would get the best out of him, and you've gotten the worst out of him, and he's been one of the main culprits of why that defense is definitely taking a step back. Jeremy, thanks a lot for the call. Use that second call if you want to, my friend, all right? CM Punk.
Hey, CM Punk, baby. Take care, Peter.
All right, buddy. Good stuff there. Wrestling fans, open phone line, 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. Want to get out to these comments, Jason, and then we'll get you out of here for the night because we are about to do a podcast on the Buck Power Podcast Network.com. No quarter given. Let's see here. Let's go out to Jeremy. I'm excited for more of Cansey and Yaya come Sunday. I definitely think those are the bright spots, if you will, the young bright spots of the future. Ask for phone calls, get phone calls. Welcome to the Sports Web. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, how you doing, Peter? It's Tristan.
What's going on, Tristan? You're on with yours truly, along with Jason Powers on Sports Podcast.
Oh, man. Powers, what seminary school did you go to, man?
What?
Powers, where did you go to? What school did you go to?
What high school or college? What?
Seminary school, because clearly you're speaking the gospel tonight.
Whoa!
Yes. See?
Okay. All right.
There you go. I like it.
Go on to Jason Powers here. There you go, right there. There's Jason Powers. There you go. Pat yourself on. All right, Tristan, go ahead. Have at it.
Yeah, I just like to address a couple of narratives going on around tonight, man, about what Baker Mayfield said. And clearly, if he's calling for guys to, step up to the plate and be better, I don't think nobody told him that that's actually his job to do that and not necessarily.
Yes, he's the quarterback. You're the leader. You're the guy that needs to help show by example. Yes. Speak it, Tristan. Speak it.
But Tom Brady would do the same thing, guys. Now, come on. Let's be fair here.
Tom produced it on the field. That's the difference.
Mayfield has not been that bad if you look at his numbers.
Average at best. We all agree he's been average at best.
The interception ratio is very good. He's one of the top probably 15 quarterbacks in the National Football League. Look at his numbers. That's
average. 16 is average. If he's the 16th rated guy, he's average.
I think you take an average quarterback over what you've had in the past. I'm just saying. Besides Tom Brady, look at the other quarterbacks. Just saying there, Jason Powers. Go ahead, Tristan.
Yeah, and just pointing out though, and I get the position that Baker's in, and I see a lot of his play that he's protecting his number, and it's evidenced by the balls in which he throws to Chris Godwin. It's evident he's protecting his number because he's trying to salvage his career. And I get it. Now, is Baker Mayfield playing good for a $26 million quarterback? Hell no. Is he playing good for a $4 million quarterback? I say yeah.
Yeah.
I give him that. I will give him that. But when we talk about leadership, and I think Mr. Powers said, but let me go ahead and rephrase that. My apologies. Pastor Powers said earlier that
I'm the Reverend. Call me the Rev. I'm the Rev.
The Rev Jason Powers. I thought I'd never hear that, and you hear that on the Sports Web. There you go. Thanks a lot, Tristan. The guy's head is already huge. Now it's going to even be bigger.
Well, Rev was saying, though, he was saying, we're talking about leadership here. That's the narrative, right? And we're saying, where's the leadership coming from? On defense, the narrative is impossible to produce because nobody is playing well. And I think that deficit of $80 million going into the season is becoming more and more evident with each game. Yeah. You got cornerbacks. No cornerback has ever put up more than 4 interceptions in a season, and that was by Charlton Davis. He did that one time, and that was the Super Bowl season. Aside from that, he averages 2 interceptions per game. Even on the other side, Jamel Dean never got more than 2 interceptions in a season. You go back to the backfield, you look at Antoine Winfield Jr., never got more than 2 interceptions in a season. When you need a play on defense, you don't have a guy that can produce that play. On the pass rush side of the game, we got guys on the end, aside from Shaq Barrett, who's never got more than 4 sacks in a season. There's nobody, aside from Vita Vea, of course, respectfully. So there's nobody on the defense who can produce that big play that can fire the team up. I get what people are saying, that Todd Bowles may seem smug and so forth on the sideline, but if you know that you don't have a guy who's going to make that play on 3rd and 7, on 4th and 3 when they're going for it, I don't know where you draw that type of energy or you draw that type of momentum from. There's only so much firing up you can do when you don't have the dogs to run the race. If you look at the defense, we say it all the time, well, bench Charlton Davis. Okay, well, you bring in Zion McCollum, we know what's going to happen there. Christian Izzy, an undrafted free agent, you know what's going to happen there. Like, the depth on this team is bad. I said it at the beginning of the year. I thought it was a 4-win team. So far, so good. But if you don't have the guys in the offseason, if your biggest defensive acquisition is Ryan Neal, that's kind of telling you all you need to know about what type of defense we got. It's a bargain basement defense. And I think that coaching is what's been keeping us in these games, to where you can identify individual plays in each game that was the result of us losing the game.
Now, see, I think this coaching is keeping you away from losing. I think coaching is keeping you from winning games, honestly, with the clock management issues, with the timeouts, with not knowing the situational football. And once again, I keep on going back to it. And whether you want to blame him or not, he has to be blamed. When he doesn't have this team ready to go and you have continual slow starts, whether it's offense or defense, your defense is giving up a long drive to start the game, or your offense is coming out flat. Why is there no urgency with this team every Sunday? Every friggin' Sunday, this Bucs team gets off to a slow start until their backs are against the wall and they're down by so many points. Then they start coming back. I mean, that is on coaching. You have to have your team ready to go. And you can't continue to go in the press conferences and say, well, we're going to get it corrected. You're saying the same thing. He said,
what do you want him to say?
I want him to get it done. I just want him to correct the mistakes that are and stop having the same mistakes. And again, if those players that we're talking about are committing those same type of errors, then you need to replace them. They need to be benched. And that's
they can't do that this year, Peter. He's playing with $80 million tied behind his back. He can't sit down the veteran players. That's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. As much as we all would love it to happen, that's not going to happen.
And that's the problem. You're going to go with.
And this is and we all have to be honest. Yeah. This is a transition year between. We're paying all the credit card debts. We have to understand. Again, I understand the division's winnable. Could they win the division at 8 and 9? Yeah, but we have to understand the growing pains that this year is going to bring with having to play all the young players.
But to that point, it wasn't a rebuilding year because you re-signed Levante David, you re-signed Jamel Dean. If it was a rebuilding year, Jason Powers and Tristan on the line here on the Sports Web, you would have traded a Mike Evans or a Chris Godwin and got draft picks.
It's a 1 year rebuild. It's a 1 year rebuild. It's not a 5-year rebuild. It's a 1 year reset. They couldn't go out and sign free agents, depth, which is what they needed. They needed depth. And you can't sign backup guys for $2 and $3 million. That's why they're having to have so many rookie players on the team. That's just the financial economics of the situation. And would we all trade a Super Bowl for what happened in the last 3 years for this year? I think we all would.
Sure you would. My problem is, and I get what you're saying, again, the urgency, the situational football, not knowing why do you continue to have timeouts before halftime, 3 timeouts? Use them. Have faith in your offense that can go 20 seconds or 25 seconds. I get it. They've had their struggles, but maybe increase the tempo. Go into that 2-minute drill. You're trying to tell me that you can't do anything?
I don't disagree with his game management part of things. That part I will be honest and critical about Todd Bowles about the game management part of things, but the personnel side of things, that's not a Todd Bowles issue. That's a salary cap reality of this year is he's having to play guys. And when you play young guys, guess what you can't do? You can't be as diverse and as complex as you could be in 2020 when you had a bunch of old guys playing You can't do that this year.
Then you got to scale it down. You got to scale down the
Which
playbook.
makes it very easy to target guys in this defense.
All right, good points.
Now,
Tristan, what else?
Let me address that narrative about the start and start. I think that's not a coaching problem, and I know Canales takes a whole lot of flack for that, but I can't point the finger at Canales. That falls on Baker Mayfield. If you go when you look at it, and like you said, his completion percentage, his touchdown to interception ratio, but nobody's talking about he's not getting the ball to the dogs. We got $40 million worth of wide receivers out there.
Right.
You put them to use. Like if you only target Chris Godwin 3 times in the second half, and you between him and Mike Evans in the first half of a football game, they only got 3 targets. And it's not just one game that this has happened. This is like 5 or 7 games.
Is that Baker or is that the game plan itself? Is that not being able to scheme?
That's
I think the play calls are being designed for Chris Godwin and Mike Evans, because you hear Canales saying we need to get the ball to our 2 money makers on the outside. I think that's Baker afraid to pull the trigger, or he can't see over the line. I think the height issue is a major problem.
Okay. All right.
Well, I just think he's scared to make a mistake. I think he's playing for it. He's playing to salvage his football
that's
career,
that's a fair assessment. What you just said, scared to make a mistake, and exactly, and that that's the thing there. You're scared to make a mistake, and then you don't make any mistakes, and then you become check down Charlie. Tristan, thanks a lot for the time. Anything else here on the Sports Web?
Yeah, and just one more thing, and I want to point to a brief comparison here for Baker Mayfield.
Sure, go for it. Go for it.
Go back to Jameis Winston the year we had Ryan Fitzpatrick, when he had to play with that leash on him, and he wouldn't throw the ball downfield at all. I think he went like 14 touchdowns to 11 interceptions that year, but he was scared to push the ball, and it's almost identical to what Baker's doing now. That's just something to look at.
Wow. All right. Good stuff, Tristan. As always, let me give you the Macho Man.
Oh, yeah.
Use your second call if you want to. All right. Say bye to Reverend Powers.
All right. After the way go round.
All right. See you later. Get out of here, Tristan. Reverend Powers. Listen to you. All right. Let's go on to the comments.
You need to heed the fans. The fans know best, Peter Blake.
Yeah. All right, Jason Powers. All right. We'll have you on for a little longer here, my tag team partner of the world. Go ahead and promote this podcast we do on buckpower.com, the No Quarter Given podcast.
Guys, get more great Buck cover. That's all we do. Peter and I, for about 30 or 40 minutes every week, we talk all things Bucks. We break down the game, the decisions that were made, not made, player personnel. No Quarter Given podcast. Check it out on all the podcast platforms. You can go to my YouTube channel, Jason Powers Sports Channel. We put the video content up there as well of Peter and I going back and forth. You get a montage every week of the Bucks opponent from our guy Paul Stewart, who chronicles the Bucks in that week's opponent's history with great audio. Buckpower.com, all that great stuff. It's a great place if you're the same kind of banter we're doing here. We do it on No Quarter Given, man. We talk it every week, and we dive deep into that particular game and give you all the ins and outs of the game and what happened and why it happened. So check it out, and also Powers on Sports podcast. We talk all things in the sports world, college football playoffs, NFL, all that good stuff. So definitely check it out.
All right, let's go back out to these comments here. Let's go out to Sitton. I don't think it's fair. He's getting a bad rap. We need to shop for our own players. He's really going to be fair to get him a same Super Bowl team that he had, then let him be coach. All right, Sitton, good comments. Bucks will win Sunday, then beat the Falcons and beat the Packers, the start of a 3-game win streak. All right, I like it, Rob. I like it. Let's go out to Christopher Cole. The Bucks scores 21 points a game. They would be 6-5, 3-0 in the division. All right, Ralph says, hi, Ray. Where is the soup of the day at the soup kitchen? Stop it, Ralph. Todd Bowles sucks, says Mike. I like to see Harbaugh, says Tim. What about Jim Harbaugh? You like Jim Harbaugh as a coaching candidate? Do you think he leaves Michigan, goes to the NFL eventually?
I think he's going to the NFL at the end of this year, no doubt.
Raiders or Bears?
Don't be surprised if the Chargers are in the mix too, because you got Herbert out there.
Wow.
And he's going to go somewhere with a quarterback or the number 1 pick in the draft, which could be Chicago. So he's going to go somewhere where there's a quarterback opportunity.
All right, USF has more upside with Alex Golesh than we do with Billy Napier from UF. Agree with that?
I mean, it's again, Billy's going to be on the hot seat next year. Billy's got to. You can't go 5-7 3 straight years at Florida. He's got to win. I'd say at least 8 games next year, maybe 9. But you better find a quarterback because you don't have he's recruiting well, but you better find a quarterback and a serviceable defensive coordinator.
There you go. John Mamula here. Given another season with Golish, there's not enough here at USF to keep a successful head coach here long term. On-campus stadium is nice, but it has to get into a bigger conference sooner than later. AAC is going nowhere. It's not a destination conference with any respect nationally. It's a good point. And I would say, again, I think eventually you have to wait on Clemson and Florida State to make the jump from the ACC to either go to the SEC or the Big Ten, whatever the hell they call it now. And I think that's where USF would get that big conference.
I don't think they're getting that invite with 1,800 people in the stands.
It'll improve, Jason Powers. Give the USF Bulls fans.
But to be honest, Peter, here's what you have to understand. If in week 3 of the football season in 2023, you could only put 50,000 people in the stadium for Alabama, and at least 10 of those 1,000 were Alabama fans, that is an indictment on the USF fan base and the love for football in the Tampa Bay area for USF football. You have to be honest. You have to be fair. 50,000 people for Alabama was unacceptable.
There was about 65,000.
No, there was not, Peter. Peter, I was there. You and I both were there. There were not 65,000 in that. Please, come on now.
Maybe not USF fans, but that was pretty.
No, 50,000.
I heard it was 60. They had 65.
No chance it was 60,000, Peter. Come on now.
We're gonna have to agree to disagree because I got the numbers on that. It says 65,000 for that day. So they did pack the stadium up. Now
you're wrong, Peter.
Alabama.
That's an error there. I was in the front row. You were up eating your 4 plate full of sandwiches and ice cream and all that. And I was in the rain getting soaked on the field.
You said that they were going to have a spread there. They had no spread. They just had sandwiches. So
I agree. It was bad.
It
was
one sandwich, by the way, and not two. Well, maybe 2 sandwiches.
How was Thanksgiving, by the way?
Thanksgiving sucked. I want to be really honest with you. Thanksgiving absolutely sucked, and I tell you why. Never celebrate Thanksgiving without your family or somebody that can actually cook. Because if I try to go in there and cook in my kitchen, you can't air fry a turkey. I guess you can, but I feel like, if I try to cook a turkey first and foremost, it would be like, a hot summer day in Florida on Saturday. Everything would burn.
You could have gone to Cracker Barrel or Waffle House. Come on.
I did go to Cracker Barrel. I had 1 plate and it was terrible. It was 1 plate. 1 plate, bro. 1 plate on Thanksgiving with football on. It was gone. I got it at noon and it was gone by 12:25 and I had no leftovers after that. Never again. I'm going to somebody's house. I'm going to pig out. I'll pay for a plate. I'm never going out again. Done.
No Mama Blake cooking turkey this year?
No, not this year. Hopefully next year. Hopefully for Christmas. She's going to make up for it on Christmas. I tell you that right now. We're going to have Thanksgiving on Christmas. It's not going to be just a Christmas ham. It's going to be Thanksgiving turkey, yams. I missed out on my yams. I missed out on my mashed potatoes and gravy. No freaking gravy. Cracker Barrel. You got no freaking mashed potatoes and gravy. I mean, what the hell are we doing? What are we doing here, Cracker Barrel? What are we doing? No mashed potatoes and gravy, no yams. I mean, they're a little bit. I mean, it was ridiculous, man. It was disappointing.
Man, sorry to hear that.
That's all right. But I'm glad. I hope you had a great Thanksgiving. How many plates did you put down?
I put down 1 big plate. I'll be honest with you. 1 big one. I had a big one.
You're lying your ass off. You probably put down about 2 or 3 plates.
No, just 1. I promise.
Just 1.
I went for seconds on the mashed potatoes and gravy. I did go for seconds on the mashed potatoes and gravy, and I did some stuffing, seconds on the stuffing, but 1 helping of turkey, 1 helping of the green bean casserole.
Oh, green bean casserole. That sounds good. See, what happened was I think my mom was so pissed off at me one year because I actually went on my radio show, and I went to go get my uncle in Gainesville, right? And I spent all day long in Thanksgiving traffic, which, by the way, never doing that again. Never driving on Thanksgiving.
Yeah, don't do that.
Never. So I get back home there late, and I'm looking forward to mashed potatoes and gravy. I didn't get my mashed potatoes and gravy. So guess what? I didn't get in a fight with my mom that night. I went on my radio show the next week there in Clearwater and talked about the whole show, did a whole segment on how mom didn't have mashed potatoes and gravy. And I think she used that against me this year and hated me for that. Needs to forgive and forget. I need my mashed potatoes and gravy. I need those yams, Mom. You know what I'm talking about. All right. Mom, get the meatloaf. All right. Did my best, Will Ferrell.
The meatloaf, Mom. The meatloaf. But here's the better question. Did you have the hot girl walking down the steps after the meatloaf?
No, I did not. I did not go to a funeral, Jason Powers. I was watching that movie just the other day. I did not. And by the way, who does that? Come on, bro. You don't pick up no woman at a funeral. That's ridiculous. It was great by Will Ferrell, by the way. Wide open wide receivers because you can't see it with the O-line. David says, man, I wish they would just put in Kyle for one game so we could shut these people up. They've had him for 2 years. Don't think they know what they had in him. That's why they went out looking for Baker or Garoppolo or any other quarterback besides Kyle. We know Jason Light will hold on to players for a long time because he doesn't want to admit he's wrong when he drafted Vernon Hargraves and Noah Spence and basically everybody from the 2016 draft. Hell, even Roberto Aguayo. Fair?
No, he cut Roberto Aguayo in year 2.
Well, he
He
did.
didn't hold on to Roberto Aguayo.
Yeah, but his point was that he held on to him too long. Is that what's going on here? And he makes a good point. I mean,
No, we've never seen him play. You have to see him play to see if he can play when the bullets are real. I mean, he was never going to play with Tom Brady. That was never the plan. You have to see him play. If they lose Sunday and you're 4-8, you have to play him the rest of the year.
Most likely,
you can't go into next year not knowing what you have in Kyle Trask.
You're most likely going to play him the next year, but I think they know what they got in Kyle Trask. We'll see. We'll see, man. I go back and forth with people on this. I mean, if you have a franchise quarterback, then I think you wouldn't have had Tom Brady back. I know that's crazy to say, but if Kyle Trask is truly the guy,
you never know if he's the guy, but nobody ever knows until he plays.
Play him over Tom Brady in the first place.
On, really?
Think about it. If you play Kyle Trask, you don't have the problem of Bruce Arians retiring because we all know most likely, Tom Brady had some insight in getting rid of Bruce Arians on that. But you still have BA here. You still have Todd Bowles as a defensive coordinator, and you get a chance to see if Kyle Trask can do it. I'm just saying.
Did the Eagles know that Jalen Hurts was going to be a franchise quarterback? No. They drafted him in the second round behind Carson Wentz.
But he had, I get it. He had some potential, but they played him. They gave
him you have to give him a chance to play.
But my point is they had the opportunity to give him the chance to play, and instead they have Blaine Gabbert as the backup, and they also went with Tom Brady. I'm just saying. I'm just throwing it out there. All right, Christopher Cole, man, you are so passionate about that quarterback position. Man, you are not a Baker Mayfield fan. I was going to get you a jersey, Jason Powers, a Baker Mayfield, and you would probably just burn it.
I'm not saying he's done a bad job, but he is what he is. We have to stop making him bigger than what he is. He's an average quarterback.
Fair enough. What's your thoughts on Bull's comments about players not holding each other accountable? What do you say about that?
What does every great team do? Every team. You don't think the Patriots, you think all great teams, no matter the sport, if they don't have the internal locker room policing of themselves, the coach can only say so much, guys. As much as we think the coach can just say the magic words, the players have to police themselves, have to demand greatness out of themselves. You don't think Tom Brady, Teddy Bruschi, Willie McGinnis, all those Vrabel, all those guys in New England police that locker room? I know Belichick's a hard ass and he lit them up, but do you not think those guys held each other accountable to the nth degree?
Would you want Belichick as the coach of the Bucs if the Glazers went after him?
If he was a little bit younger, I would love it. I just think I worry about his age because he and Jason Light have a relationship. Light used to work for the Patriots back in the day, but I worry about Belichick's age. Age is the issue with me and Belichick. But if that was our choice, Belichick or Todd Bowles, would I take Belichick for 2 or 3 years? Again, you have to draft you either have to draft one or trade for one, or go get Kirk Cousins, whatever it is. You have to solve the quarterback problem. It doesn't matter who the head coach is. If you don't have the upper level elite quarterback, it doesn't matter. Hate to say it, doesn't matter.
You're right. Ray Kennedy said, sorry, fellas, battery died. You guys rock. Appreciate your Ray, as always. Mike said 65,000.
No way. You weren't there, brother. That might be the attendance that USF publicized, but there's no chance in HELL that there were 65,000 people in that building that day. I was there. You were there. Be honest, Peter. I know. Be honest. I was sitting in the front.
It looked pretty packed to me, but I
pretty packed.
Yes.
Upper deck. Massive gaps in the upper deck. Massive.
It was still pretty packed there. But I will say this: after the lightning delay, some fans did walk up.
Before the lightning delay.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
I'm telling you, wrong.
All right, I had Australian honey ham, sweet potatoes, marshmallows, and stuffing. Thanks a lot for bragging. Appreciate it. We're Worst Thanksgiving of all time, even worse than no mashed potatoes and gravy. All right, Jason Powers, Powers on Sports podcast. Thanks a lot for your time here on the evolution of Sports Talk Television. All right.
And I even got a gift for you for No Quarter Given podcast. I got a little gift for you.
Oh, really? What did you get me?
We'll wait till the podcast. The fans got to tune in.
Okay.
No Quarter Given podcast will be out tomorrow morning.
Okay. Did you get me tickets to the Royal Rumble by chance in January?
No, I can promise you I didn't get you tickets to the Royal Rumble. I maybe got you. Actually, a friend of mine said at your place, the patio, there was a little person wrestling event there tonight.
No stuff. Was there
swear
really?
to God, little. My boss went tonight. My boss told me about it. There's a wrestling event at the patio with little people going at it tonight. I swear to God.
There you go. Good stuff. All right, Jason Powers, you learn something new every day or every night here on the evolution of Sports Talk Television. Thanks a lot for your time.
You got it, buddy.
All right, there you go. Jason Powers, Powers on Sports podcast. Tune in to the buckpower.com podcast network for the No Quarter Given. Tell you what, let's go out to Baker Mayfield. His comments today, give my vocal cords a break, give the phone lines a break. Let's hear from your starting quarterback of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers here on the Sports Web, the evolution of Sports Talk Television.
Good. Both of them are good. Yeah.
You talk about, obviously you've gone through some injuries in your career, but the ability to play through them and show that toughness, where does that come from?
For me, I know this sounds kind of corny, but it's kind of a mindset. Tell yourself you're able to get through it, and you just kind of mind over matter. I mean, there's times where every injury is different. If it's going to hinder your play, I know I've mentioned that before. If it's going to hinder your play, you're hurting the team. So there's a difference in toughing it out and being smart. So it's a fine line you got to walk.
Is it hard to come off the field though and not play?
Oh yeah. For me, yeah. You want to be out there as a competitor. You want to be out there with your guys. You go through the weeks of practice, and you want to be able to go out and do your best on game day.
How much did it impact your mobility? Maybe not necessarily scrambling because you were able to run for a touchdown, but run for a first down, but just moving around in the pocket.
It like immediately after a little bit, but it eased up as the game went on.
You know, you were sacked 6 times, which is a high number for this group. But you go back and look at it, you feel like you held the ball a few times too long.
There's the sacks. Like there was one that I scrambled up and somebody was going to hit me, so I slid. And it's like the 0 yardage sacks. So those kind of impact those numbers. There were a couple definitely could have gotten the ball out quicker. The empty one where it took a sack just across midfield, definitely just need to find an outlet, make it easier on those guys. Yeah, it's a little bit of both. Finding outlets, checking the ball down or throwing it away, and just knowing when they might have a better call than us.
How did you know Tristan Wirfs has been such a rock for this team? He's such a great player and moved to left tackle and all of that. Mm-hmm. A lot of guys, including yourself, are playing hurt right now. But for him to give up the sack fumble in the game, what'd you say to him? I mean, is there any discussion about, I mean, he's not going to be perfect either, right? Like, yeah,
I mean, everybody's human when it comes down to it. I mean, he's still a stud. We still trust him with everything. Just one of those plays that, he just got beat around the edge, and that happens. Obviously, it's a critical moment, so I know he's really hard on himself, but it's very rare to have that happen with him. And so you just, all right, they got us that time. You got to move on and just instill that faith that we still trust him no matter what, and he knows that, but especially right after a game like that.
Baker, can you clarify a little bit more? Because I was listening this week, and after the game, you were like, everybody's got to be on board. I'm fighting. I'm going to try to bring some other guys over. And then some people are like, oh, what do you mean by that? Are some guys not giving their all? Could you expound a little bit on that?
It's, for me, my mindset right now, and it should be for the whole team, is we're in a playoff mode mentality. We have to take care of business each week to move on and to get to where we want to go. And so it's a matter of we don't really have any more room to – there's no slack. I mean, we have to pick up the pace. We got to have a sense of urgency about it. I think now everybody realizes what's at stake now, that we have to win out. We have to win these division games to get to where we want to go, to get into the playoffs. And so it's a sense of urgency. It's a matter of, guys doing all the treatment, getting everything we need to get done, young guys stepping up and realizing that they're going to play a pivotal role in this final season push that we have. And everybody just has to be on board.
So many young guys. Just to follow up on that. So
I'm not talking to anybody specific.
But so many young guys on that team, though, like, they're wide-eyed, bushy-tailed, right? I mean, the NFL, like, they don't realize how difficult it is to get to the playoffs. I mean, it took you a couple years to get there. How do you kind of get them to realize that it's time to go? Like, this is playoffs don't come every year. Like, we're lucky to be in this position.
Yeah. I mean, I think for an organization like this, I mean, guys can step into a place like this and think it just happens automatically. But we're facing a lot of struggles, adversity right now, that a lot of self-inflicted things, but it's a lot of lessons that these young guys can learn from and say, all right, these are why we're not winning these games. Small things can really turn a game around. And so those are the things you really have to focus on and get corrected for this playoff push.
How much of a shock to the system has this been after that 3-1 start with the drop of 6 of the last 7? I mean, it looks like you guys were, ascending.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's not what we had planned, but at a certain point, it's just look in the mirror, get your job fixed, and then try and elevate everybody else around you. There's no secret recipe besides doing your job at the highest level possible each game.
It feels like at times the offense is able to move the ball, but then a penalty or a drop kind of ends things. Is that an accountability thing? Do you guys need to be held accountable, or is that a focus thing?
A little bit of both. There's some penalties here and there that are hurting us. Obviously, the first drive, we're moving it pretty well. And I go down, and then you have the penalty to back us up off the goal line. Just things like that. And was that really a false start? No, but just little things that you have to. They can change the drive, the momentum. So you just have to be locked in at all times. It's that reset button mentality. Good, bad play. You have to play the next one, and your focus has to be there 100%.
I know you've been part of teams that coaches have been fired. You're off social media. You try not to pay attention to that, obviously, but just how much of an awareness is there of what's at stake for a whole organization when you get to this point? Like, it's not just your job, or but there's a whole group of people that are in this together. Is that a discussion, or
not really? I mean, you're going through it each day with your coaches, the staff, teammates, and so you realize that everybody's got a part of it. But yeah, unfortunately, been a part of a few coaching changes, a few mid-season, and that's when guys realize what really is at stake. Because at the end of the year, changes happen, but mid-year when it happens, it kind of rocks the organization, and obviously been there before. So it's it's something that really puts things in perspective. That you got to take care of business for everybody.
What do you expect in the mentality of the Panthers having made the coaching change in this speed of first game under this interim coach?
Yeah, having been in that spot before, it's kind of everybody rallies around it. Honestly, it's one of those things that brings people together. And I know Tabes very well. Was there with him last year. Great guy, and so I think he's going to have those guys fired up. And at this point, they don't have anything to lose, so they're going to be playing, 100%. And so we have to be ready for whatever they have, all different coverages, blitzes, packages that they might have, and just be prepared for that.
Just talk about the growth of the offense as a whole and Dave Canales and where he's come as a play caller and where you guys feel like you are having seen down. It looks like the running game's getting getting a little bit better, and that you guys have kind of mastered what's being asked of you.
Yeah, obviously the final production hasn't been there, or else we'd be winning more games. But the run game is improved extremely past couple of weeks against some good run front teams, and so that's what we've been looking for is growth each week in the offense. But now we just need to finish in the red zone. Kind of the same story there. We're able to move the ball, but some of these momentum killers, like we mentioned earlier, is just gotta nip those out and just hammer it home and finish with touchdowns instead of field goals.
Canales mentioned last week that you're not getting the same treatment as some other quarterbacks in the league. You're not getting the calls that a lot of other guys. Do you kind of feel that way too? Or?
Oh, Dave said that? I got my first roughing the passer penalty, though. That was nice. It was probably the least one I expected, but I appreciate Cleat for that one. That was good.
Your time in Carolina last year wasn't what you wanted to be personally or for the team. How do you look back on that now as they come to Tampa?
I believe everything happens for a reason. God's got a plan, and so got to know some great teammates there, and some great support staff as well. And I enjoyed it. Obviously, wasn't the full season. Got to finish up in LA, but it was a time that I needed to get out of Cleveland. It was a fresh start for me. Obviously, didn't pan out the way I envisioned it, but everything happens for a reason. I'm here now, and I expect to have a good game against some familiar faces, and it'll be fun.
Mentality is so much just doing what's right in front of you and focusing on the season. But on that same note, so much of how you're playing right now is going to really kind of dictate what's next for you after this year. How much do you think about that?
I don't, because I've always said if you win games, the rest will take care of itself. So for me, play the best I can, put us in a good position to win, and do everything I can that way, and lead the best way I can, and just let that show, and everything else will happen for a reason.
As far as this Panthers team, you've obviously been part of it. You know a lot of the guys on there. What's some of the problems that they're going to present to you that you're looking forward to on Sunday?
Yeah, I'll start up front. Brian Burns, stud. He can do it all. Derek Brown is a monster. And so you got to control those guys up front. You can't let them wreck the game. Frankie Luvo runs around. Obviously, they lost Shaq Thompson, a really good player. But in their back end, they have good players. And we're expecting to have J.C. Horn show back up for us and Jeremy Chin as well. So a lot of talented players. And so it'll be a good matchup for us, and it'll be a good test for us. And we just need to handle it correctly.
We asked you about Mike a lot, Evans, and he's already got 9 touchdowns at age 30. Obviously, he's a big target. He's got, a lot of fades and things like that.
Yeah.
But when he gets down in that red zone area, what makes him so effective when everybody knows you're going to try to get number 13 the ball?
Yeah. I think the first touchdown shows exactly why Mike is so great. He understands it's a 2-man concept. If he runs it a certain way, they could pass the concept off, but he gives an inside leverage stem and really makes the guy think he's going to go in, loses him. And I mean, when you show the film, there's not anybody on the picture when he has the ball in his hands. And so he understands how to beat coverages, how to win off leverage, and he's done it consistently. And it's obviously pretty easy to throw to, and he makes my job easy.
All right, welcome back to the Evolution of Sports Talk Television. It's the Sports Web. I'm your host, Peter Blake, giving you something to think about as we wrap this up for the night. I'm going to read the rest of these comments, and then we'll get out of here, and we'll be back on Sunday at the end of the game versus the Carolina Panthers, live from Raymond James Stadium on the field, live streaming show with your phone calls and sound effects and everything else. Mike says we would be better off with Baker Mayfield than Kirk Cousins. And Carl says 34-17 Bucks win. So thanks a lot to all the guests tonight. The legend himself, Mr. Leo Haggerty, of course, Tampa Bay, Ray Kennedy, Best of the Bay. Powers on Sports Podcast, my tag team partner of the world, Mr. Jason Powers. And, of course, all your phone calls, all your text messages. Give to YouTube Super Chats. Also donate to Facebook Stars. Like and subscribe to the Sports Web on YouTube. Also got a TikTok channel. Subscribe to that. Do 3 things for me on this happy hump day edition of the Evolution of Sports Talk Television. Bring your passion. Bring your excitement. Just don't bring any nonsense. I'm your host, Peter Blake, your Rolex reporter. What time is it? It's my time. And for fans of the Sports Web and the Tampa Bay sports fan, it's your time. We'll see you on Sunday for Bucks versus the Panthers live from Raymond James Stadium. Tune in for the post-game edition of the Evolution of Sports Talk Television. Have a great night.